neoliberalism is dying. The economic system we have lived under over the last 40 years or so is coming to an end. With its end, we see a great reset, and out of the ashes, a bold new way is emerging. Neoliberalism isn't dying because it failed. It is dying because of one simple truth. Nothing lasts forever. To explain, we need to go back further. Since the end of World War II, the West has seen two ages. There is a time and place when and where the first age began. 1944, in a town called Carroll in New Hampshire, USA, in a village called Bretton Woods. In that town, some of the world's finest minds met and discussed and planned a new way of running the world. A new determination and understanding permeated the Bretton Woods Conference of 1944, a determination not to repeat the errors that followed World War I. It saw a new, enlightened understanding that nations needed to work together and forge a more collaborative world. The IMF and World Bank were forged at Bretton Woods, but the new thinking of that time led to institutions such as the United Nations. Indeed, the forerunner to the EU was born out of the spirit of collaboration and determination not to repeat the errors of the past. The men and women who fought for victorious allies demanded change, and the new age focused on social justice. The defeated powers were not punished like they were after World War I. Instead, there was a determination to unite with them. The era that began was an age of high taxes, high government spending, trade union strength, and low inequality. You could call it the Keynesian Age. Across the developed world, governments deliberately sought to stimulate their economies. That was Keynesian economics. Barely anyone questioned the ethos of that time. President Nixon said, "We are all Keynesians now." And for around a quarter of a century, the Keynesian Age was enormously successful. Wages, after allowing for inflation, doubled. Without working harder or longer hours, the average family became substantially better off. But nothing lasts forever. The Keynesian Age ended in the late 1970s with ever-rising inflation and clashes between trade unions and management, which suffocated the economy. The second age was the Neoliberal Age. It began with the election victories of Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan. It was an age of the market economy. It saw lower taxes, greater property ownership, and lower government spending. It was the era when trade unions were reduced to mere shells of what they had been, and the labour market became ultra flexible, and it saw higher inequality. At first, wages continued to rise, but nothing lasts forever. By the 1990s, wage growth slowed. In the US in 2012, median family income was no higher than in 1990. During the first age, average wages doubled in less than 22 years. During the Neoliberal Age, average wages stayed stagnant during a 22-year period. During the Neoliberal Age, wages didn't grow like they used to, but property prices soared. Neoliberalism peaked during the era of Tony Blair and Bill Clinton, supposedly left-leaning politicians. It was the era of trickle-down economics. To complain about inequality was seen as the politics of envy. The gradual death of neoliberalism began at about the time of the financial crisis of 2007 and 2008. It finally died with COVID. The pandemic did not cause the death of neoliberalism, but it hastened its end. Neither of the two systems were necessarily wrong. In both cases, they just reached the end of their natural lifetime. Supporters of neoliberalism say it fixed the economy. Maybe it did, but that does not mean it remains relevant. We err when we try to apply the lessons of different ages to today. Today, we have labour shortages, climate change, working from home, and a remarkable revolution in technology. The causes of the labour shortages are many. Here are the main two. The COVID pandemic changed attitudes, creating a sense of dissatisfaction with the way things were, just as in Britain, World War II created a thirst for change which led to the formation of the National Health Service. But the impending retirement of the baby boomer generation is the underlying force at play. Flushed with wealth created by increases in property values, the property-owning members of the baby boomer generation, born between 1946 and 1964, have either retired or are close to retiring. Thanks to low interest rates, which COVID helped sustain, much of this generation have topped up mortgages for a small cost and are preparing for a life of leisure. But the retiring baby boomer generation were fooled. Rising house prices might have created a sense of greater wealth, but this is an illusion. The flip side, weak growth in wages, is closer to reality. Never in history will the ratio of retired people to working people be so high. The labour shortage will force employers to invest in ways to increase productivity. If neoliberalism saw an ultra-flexible labour market, management supremacy and low investment in ways to increase productivity, then the new age will see the labour market adjust so that the balance of power will reside with workers. The pandemic accelerated another trend. The move to remote working. Communication tools have transformed the way we work. The office is no longer where the filing cabinet is. It is where the laptop is. Wherever I lay my laptop, that's my office. Climate change adds to the mix. The pandemic helped install an enhanced sense of the greater good, but the evidence of climate change has become irrefutable. This has created a new way of thinking. Businesses have realised that unless they take climate change seriously, they will ultimately fall foul of regulations, but more importantly, lose the trust of their customers. This is creating a new emphasis on ethical business. In this way, businesses will come to accept the necessity of environmental, social, and governance policies, ESG. Technology is in the midst of a revolution. The revolution was made possible partly by computer evolution, doubling in power every 18 months, finally reaching a tipping point. It was also made possible by advancement of the internet. Plus, a host of other advancing technologies have converged. The result is a fourth industrial revolution. The age we have entered is the connected age. The economic consequences will be nuanced. The economy thrives on waste, on the inefficiency of commuting into work, for example, creating an ecosystem serving the office economy. Cars spend most of their time parked. If remote working and autonomous cars help us create efficiency, the economy may contract unless we embrace the changes and work out how to turn them to our collective advantage. But this age will not last long. Exponential technologies will converge and create a new revolution. AI, quantum computing, 6G, gene editing tech, augmented and virtual reality will all converge, augmenting us. The fourth post-World War II age will be the augmentation age. Whether the final outcome will be positive or negative, utopian or dystopian, depends on us and how we handle the technology. Humanity, it is down to you. We must take the science seriously. There is no room for denial. If you agree with us and think the issues we describe here are incredibly important, then subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our website at techopian.com. Subscribe to our entertaining newsletter, and well, one more thing. You could always buy the book I co-wrote, and one more thing too. Please consider becoming a Techopian patron. It will help us to continue researching and create the content that you're interested in. The link to find out more is in the description and on our channel.